right, this is our quiz warm-up, 9-1 to 9-3. Name the coordinates of -2, -7 under reflection in the x-axis. What does the x-axis reflection do to the values of the coordinates? Carolyn? Yep, change sign of y. No matter what it is, you're going to change the sign of the y value. So since it's -2, -7, we're going to change the y to +7. So it'd be at -2, +7. If you're ever just not sure, you could actually draw yourself a little grid. This is your x and y. Okay, if you were at -2, -7, you'd be down there, and you could just think about it. I got to flop over the x-axis, so that's going to change the y value. Okay? If you're going to go reflecting in the y-axis, then you're going to go the other way. So that would change the sign of x. Okay, so that would be 2, -7. Okay, these are very similar to questions you have in your quiz tomorrow. And you will be turning in your review. Name the coordinates of 9, -4 under a rotation of 270 and 180. So let me start with 270. Say I was at 9, -4. Over here. It'd be over somewhere over here. If I were to go 270 in a counterclockwise direction, I'd be going this way, then this way, then this way. So I'm going to be landing in quadrant 3. Now, there is a rule for this. You guys can look it up, but I decided just now to figure it out. What's the rule? You change the sign of one of them. Which is it? It's going to be change the sign of x and then switch x and y. Now, I used my diagram in my head to figure out what that is. You could do that, but if you don't, you get to look it up. You get to use your ISN. So change the sign of x and then switch x and y. That is the rule. So if I'm going to go 270, then if I change the sign of x to -9 and switch them, I'll be at -4, -9. You see how that makes sense to my picture? There'd be left 4 down. That would make sense putting me in this quadrant. I know I'm off as far as my estimate goes. Okay, what about 180? 180 changes the sign of both x and y. Okay, so if you want to make that note, change the sign of x and y. Do not switch them. And those rules are listed again in your ISN. So it would become -9, +4. That's what a rotation of 180 would do to that point. Okay, name the coordinates of 4, -1 under a translation of 3, -4. Well, you could think about it on a grid if you wanted, but what that means is to go right 3 and down 4. Well, there's a mathematical way for you to indicate that change. You can just take each of these, you can add 3 to the x component, and you can subtract 4 from the y. So if I do 4 plus 3, a prime would be located at 7, and -1 minus 4 would be -5. So the location would be 7, -5. Okay, I'd like to get this one in before we go today. This is what I was talking to you about. You're going to have one of these to do. It's not even a double reflection, so it should be fairly simple. Just make sure you remember that you need to take your ruler and hold it vertical with the line. The only one you're going to have to reflect is the tip, the one that's not on it. So you're going to measure this way, and my ruler is not going to be to scale, and I don't have time to get it to scale. I will tell you physically, though, what it should have been. All right, so you come to the other side, you make a mark that same distance over the line, and then you'll have where it goes, you're going to draw the triangle, okay? All right, good luck tomorrow on your quiz. I will continue this review in just a minute. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and reflect B over line M. should be able to measure it somewhat like yours. So I'm going to use the centimeters side. I'm putting 3 on my line horizontal, and it's B is 1 centimeter above. So I'll make a mark 1 centimeter below, holding my ruler still. That's B prime. Oops. And then you just need to take your straight edge and connect. And you're going to need, you're going to need to label the other 2 points as well. Get this out of the way. Why is this not letting me get my pen? Excuse me. Just trying to get a pen. Okay, go from. Finally got the segment tool working here. All right, I'm going to C, which I'll label C prime, and A, which I'll label A prime. So there's our new figure reflected over the x-axis. And like, don't forget to label this C prime and A prime. Since they're on the reflection line, they stay there. Draw triangle PQR 2, 3. Label it P. So I'm just plotting the points 6, 1 and 6, 8. Connect the points. Make your triangle. Now I know some of us have already gone over this yesterday, but anybody who is absent, at least we're going over this quick. You are to its image reflected in the x-axis. The x-axis is the horizontal axis right here. There is a rule that we have in our ISN, and you can use your ISN on your quiz. 1 above for Q, you can go down to put 1 below to put Q prime. The rule was to change the sign of the Y values. So R prime should be at 6, -8. And Q prime, just like where we put it, is at 6, -1. P prime should be at 2, -3. And that is 3 above, so 3 below is where P prime should have gone. So you can do it just on the grid just by looking and counting. Okay, there's the reflection. And don't forget to make sure you label on your quiz. Use an index card or ruler to draw a rotation of PQR 180 degrees about P. You're going to be going straight through T to the other side, 180 degrees rotation counterclockwise. So you're going to need to measure from T to R, not the other way around. So if you grab your ruler and you're going to need to rotate it, I almost think I'm going to back this up a minute and see if I can get my document camera to work. That might be a little bit easier to show you. So I'm going to pause. Okay, now using the document camera, I'm going to show you how to rotate 180 degrees about the center point T. So I'm going to use my centimeter side of the ruler. Okay, I'm going to just put it randomly anywhere I want. I'm just trying to measure how many marks it is. Putting the center, I'm putting on 14 on T, the center of rotation. Now I'm going to count the millimeters to get to R. So I have 5, 10, 15 millimeters. So I'm going to go to the other side of the ruler holding it still, 5, 10, 15 millimeters. I'm going to make a point and I'm going to label it R prime. We are rotating about P, so that's where we're putting our measuring from. So if I go find P now, centering, I'm using 14 just because that's what I chose. Doesn't matter what mark you use. This is about 5, 10, 15, 20, 25-ish centimeters, actually 26 millimeters away from T. So we'll go to the other side. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, say 26. Okay, make a point and label it P prime. Okay, start over, measure from P to Q. Looks like that's about 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 1-ish or 30-ish millimeters away from P. So I'm going to go the other side, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 1-ish. Okay. Now, you got to be pretty close to on the money when I grade this, but, you know, I'll give a tiny bit of leeway. But if you're way off, forget about it. Then just draw your triangle, and do make sure you labeled your points. I didn't really have to move that R, but it looks a little bit better that way. Okay, I'm going to pause and go back to the other. Well, for some reason, there's another number 7 at the top of your paper on the back. It says find the image of -3, 7 after translation of -5 plus 1. So basically, you're just going to plug in the x values here, -3 minus 5. And 7 plus 1, it's actually a translation left 5 and up 1. The new point would be at -8, 8. The line segment XY with endpoints 5, 3 and 6, -3 is rotated 90 degrees about the origin. What are the new endpoints of x prime, y prime? All right, so we got to look up the rule for rotating 90 degrees about the origin. In your ISN, that can be found on page 8. On page 8 of your ISN, the rule says to go 90 degrees, you do the opposite of y, change the sign of y, and switch it with x. So if your points are x, y, they're going to go to the opposite of y, comma x. So if I have x at 5, 3, then I'm going to change the sign of the y to -3 and switch it with the x. So -3, 5 will be x prime. And that's the answer for the first part of the question. And y prime would be at +3 because you change the sign of y and switch it with the x. Okay, so remember to look it up. I believe yesterday in one class, I went with someone's suggestion that 270 did this. 270, when you rotate 270 about the origin, you change the sign of x and switch it with y. Okay, translate triangle PQR by the vector given in the direction shown. What you're going to need to do is measure this vector. I'm going to go back to the document camera. Okay, so we take the ruler, we're going to measure the vector. I don't even care where I use for a beginning. You could use 0 if you like, but I'm just going to count off how many centimeters long that thing is. And then I'm going to keep it in this direction to slide the point. So I've got 5, 10, 15, 16, 17 millimeters. So I'm going to hold the ruler like horizontally, and I'm going to go to point P, line up any way your mark you want, and count 5, 10, 15, 17 millimeters to the left. That's where P prime is going to go. Do the same thing for Q, 5, 10, 15, 16, 17. That will be Q prime. And then hold that horizontal, and from R, 5, 10, 15, 17 millimeters to the left in that direction. Okay, and then connect your points. Okay, that is a translation in this direction of each of these points. If you were to connect the points, this would be the length, 17 millimeters apart. We seem to have multiple repeated numbers here. This is another number 9. Anyway, for this problem that says a point F at -2, 2 is translated along the vector 6, -2. What are the coordinates of the image? Okay, so F prime is going to be, you're going to add 6 to the x coordinate, -2 plus 6, which would give you 4. And we're going to add -2 to 2, or subtract 2, and get 0. That would be the answer. Which translation vector moves every point of a preimage 5 units left and 3 units up? You would write it in vector notation. That's with a pointy bracket, please. 5 units left would be left 5 is negative, and 3 positive would be up positive 3. And that is, use a positive 3 for the y part. Number 11, parallelogram JKLM has the following vertices. What is the coordinates of the image of M if the parallelogram is rotated 180 about the origin? 180-degree rotation is change the sign of both X and Y. So then you do not switch them. You just change the sign of both X and Y. So M prime would be at 3, -1. The image of A is 6, -1. Under a reflection, A prime is -6, -1. Which reflection produces the image of A? Well, what changed? It's the X value. All right, the X value changed sign. So if the X value changed sign, then we were reflected over, it was reflected over the Y axis. Okay, because if you have X changing sign, if you were over here, it's, well, 6, -1 would actually be somewhere over there. So I'll label that. If you went over the Y axis, then you'd be travel over there, and that would change the point's value to -6, -1. That's a visual of it. EFG has vertices at -1, 2. Plot your points. G's at 4, 3. And F, where was F? I already did an F, -1, 2. 3, 1 is for E. F, excuse me, 3, 1. Oh no, can't see that well, darn it. I got some bright lights on me. Here we go. Okay, so let's hit from E to G. Make our triangle. And then it says to translate it, -2, 3. That means go left 2, down 3. So just take all the points in that direction. Left 2, down 1, 2, 3. Label it E prime. Take G, left 2, down 1, 2, 3. Label it G prime. Take F, left 2, down 1, 2, 3. Label F prime, and then draw the figure. Okay, and that is the end of that. It's time for you to take your quiz. So it's quiz time. Timer time over and out.